So it can be tough, but it's definitely possible. And in this video, I want to talk a little bit about how to get into video games music. Hey, what's up? My name is Alex and I'm working for around 15 years now as a video game composer. So if you are interested in the games I have worked on, it's quite a bit after these 15 years. Check out my video description below and you will find the websites and some of the credits I have worked on. But now let's get right into this. So there is of course not just one strategy that works, but there is something that you need for all of these. And this is one very important thing: consistency. So if you think that you tried it all by sending 3 application mails to 3 companies and then get 3 rejections and say, okay, I've tried it all, I think composing for video games is not for me. So do yourself a favor. If you think like this, change your attitude, be a bit more ambitious, or do something else. Okay, let's get into strategy number 1. So before you head into the world of video games, you just have to experience how it is like working in a team. And because when you are working on a video game, you are basically a tiny wheel in a huge machine. And the best way to do this is find a forum or some kind of a community that is based around mod creation. So in case you don't know what mods are, we are basically talking of modifications of already released and more or less successful games. So very often video game developers implement options on how to tweak or even create new content of an existing video game. So it can even happen that a team creates an entire new game out of the available resources. So this brings us to the first question: how do you find these mod places? And a great way to start would be open Google, type in video game mod forums and hit enter. And I'm sorry that I sounded a little bit ironic here, but to be honest, I receive many questions like this. And I honestly have to say, if you are not even able to jump on Google and type in 3 or 4 words and spend like 10 minutes to find a mod community, you will definitely not survive one single day in, let's say, a big video game project with a tight deadline. So back to topic, research on these forums, try to find people to work with and get involved in a mod project. So fast forward, you worked on one or even several of these mod projects, and now you got a good starting point by having at least a few credits for your credit list for your website. This is one good thing to have, but there is also something else that you definitely want to take advantage of: social proof. So simply ask the project leader or some of your fellow artists to write you 1 or 2 lines of a little testimonial. So to be honest, social proof is totally underrated, but there is nothing better when you have a bunch of people stating that you did awesome work. So let's hop over to method or way number 2. Now it may be time to find your first commercial project. And I think we don't need to talk about that now. It's probably not the best way to send an application mail to Electronic Arts or Ubisoft if they need a composer. So for a first, you want to do the following. Just open the Google or the Apple App Store or even Steam and try to look for game companies. Okay, so I'm here in my Steam account, so you can hop over to browse and then you simply hop over to indie and then click this, and then for example you see some game. Let's pick Hades here for a second, and on this next page you can clearly see the developer is Supergiant Games, and then you can click here and sometimes you have on the about section or somewhere here you have a link to the developer, but in this case you may want to simply open Google and browse the company and find the contact form. So when you are contacting these video game companies, be aware that it's probably not a good idea to get into some kind of copy-paste action and just, replace the title of the company and ask, hey, do you guys need a composer? Because I mean, you are not the first composer that is out there contacting video game companies. So you want to be a little bit more exceptional here. Let's do this instead. Pick 3 smaller indie developers and then start checking out their most recently released game, or even get it and play it for a little bit. Then sit down and maybe write 30 seconds of music that you could have imagined that would have worked in the game. Music that the game inspired you to write. And then contact the video game company and write the following: Dear video game company, My name is Alex and I've recently enjoyed playing video game title. I'm a music composer who is passionate about video game music, and I couldn't hold back to write a little piece of music that was inspired by video game title. And then you attach a simple link to your email, and please note we don't want to send an MP3. We don't want to clutter someone's inbox. Please note that we didn't mention anything of being on the hunt or looking for work. And if they don't reply, move on. So as a little side note, when I went out back then and tried to get in contact with video game companies, I did it the traditional way. I sent out application emails. And of course you can also do this, but let me just tell you that I probably wrote in a period of maybe like a few weeks of time around 500 emails, and I got one job out of it. So I personally think that by offering something first, you wrote like 30 seconds of music for that company, you will reach way more than just sending out a plain application email to ask if somebody needs a composer. Okay, last way, the social media way. And to be honest, I have to say this strategy is my favorite. And I'm saying this because of one, you can express your passion for video games music throughout the entire web on all the social networks out there. Second, you're not doing it with that I need to find work attitude. And third, for example, my entire career is totally based on social media presence. However, back then, 15 years ago, the social media networks of my time were forums mostly. But by constantly releasing new music and being in communication with other members, I got in contact with the Dynamedion. And Dynamedion is Germany's biggest company for video game music and sound design. So back then when I got in contact with Dynamedion, it was probably around 2005. So now, 15 years later, and tons of music scores written. Furthermore, I also want to mention Alex Mukala, who is one of my YouTube composer buddies. Hey bro, he is probably the best example when it comes to passion and video games on social networks. So he's not just writing great music, but also in his posts he mentions how a soundtrack of video game A would sound for video game B. And then again he's writing like a funk version of one of his favorite video game tracks and records himself playing that track on bass. So besides that, he has a lot of video game music tutorials out there, but the great thing is always what is plain to see, his passion for video games. And in fact, at some point, he got the attention of the developers and also one or several of the composers for Final Fantasy, and I'm pretty sure that there will be way more happening at this point for him. And besides that, he didn't crush just the 100,000 subscribers for just one YouTube channel, but two. So I think definitely number 3, the social media presence, to do this all on social media, is one of the most effective ways. Simply because you show to the world already your passion for video game projects. So best thing is to do a mixture of all of these 3 ways I've suggested here, and at some point you will be contacted by a video game company looking for a composer. And please keep in mind that a company that is contacting you because they want you is always better than you contacting a company because of a need. Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this little video. I hope it will help you along your way. And if you have any comments, questions, please feel free to use the comment section below. Also, again, I would be really happy if you liked this video. In case you haven't subscribed to my channel, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and see you soon.